some involving minors. Viewer discretion is advised. He was one of America's most celebrated singers, working with some of the most talented people in the music industry.
I've written for everybody. I've done things for everybody. I'm 31 in the game.
His list of credits with artists included Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Lady Gaga, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Mary J. Blige, and many more. His songs have both sexualized some as well as inspirationalized others. And within those songs were messages that left thought and interpretation depending on the listener, as most great songs do. With titles that would inspire you to believe you could fly, and titles that would also give you permission to be feeling on your booty. Kelly's songs all seem to have their own personalities, telling stories within a story that oftentimes push the envelope and barriers of the sexual revolution. Delightful, yet different. Definitely deliberate, combined with a past that released him of his troubled confines.
My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. Baby, I don't want to hurt nobody, but there is something that I must
He has one of the most recognizable voices in music, with talents that are as undeniable as any man's demons, that run parallel with musical genius. This is the opinions versus the facts, the truths versus the lies, and the makeups of remarkable to repulsive. In order to fully understand the story of any man, fair, you must first start with his very beginnings. This approach ensures that at the very least, with one's willful intent, most will understand. R. Kelly, born Robert Sylvester Kelly, entered this world on January 8th, 1967. The 60s were trying times, especially for black people. the always relevant questions about race, freedom, equality, and justice. It was also a time that seen a black revolution that screamed being black and proud. With an undertone that really promoted being poor and sometimes promiscuous. However, not all black families experienced that behavior. There was still an overwhelming majority who believed in the principles of matrimony, getting together and staying married to raise a family together. According to the 1965 issue Monahan report, only 25% of children were born out of wedlock. But as the years passed, those numbers increased dramatically. One of the studied reasons was the introduction of welfare, government assistance. What was supposed to be created to help actually forced fathers out of the home. The man of the house rule black men took pride in actually hurt the house because the government assistance dictated that a man's presence can only get a household little to no benefits at all. This in turn caused black men to leave in order for their families to continue to receive those government-issued funds. However, these actions were recognized as wrong by the Supreme Court. In 1968, with the case of King v. Smith, the courts ruled against the government's rules and abolished those practices. Unfortunately, by that time, the black family had been decimated and dominated with Papa was a Rolling Stone. This is what created not just Kelly, but millions of black men for that time. Fatherless households. And for those who were lucky, they knowingly and unknowingly shared the father.
They only saw, look, the hood only came out one time. I was over there, I was trying to leave the dang alone, man. They kept on saying, like, man, he's a bitch ass.
I'm Cassandra Kelly,
Why was talking to TV?
sister of Robert Kelly, and Lisa Kelly. I'm Robert Kelly's sister on his father's side.
Mom, closer.
I'm not.
He's mine.
Is she watching a movie?
Yeah, but she's done with her food.
My dad was a contractor.
Mom!
He was a pastor as well as an ex-vet. He had his hardships in life, and he didn't deal with those demons, and so therefore we had to go through a lot as children because he had those unsettled issues within him. My mom, they were together for a while, but it was a lot of things that I feel like my mother shouldn't have had to take. He would drink, and when he got drunk, he would be abusive to our mother. It happened quite often. And to see that kind of thing happen as a child is kind of scary. For example, me, it was hard for me in school because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, when I get home, my mom, she's going to be dead. He used to beat her. As I started growing up and becoming an adult, I realized that he had a secret. And keeping that family secret is one of the main reasons. He had an alcoholic problem. So my mom, she had to be the one to take the blows for that. That secret was, he had Robert. He's holding this secret that I have a son I want to be with, and then everybody knew but us, but he was holding it to himself whenever he would get drunk. That's all he talked about. I know within my heart he loved them. He wept for Robert. He did. He wept and was like, I wish I could have my son with me. I wish I could bring my son. I wish I could bring my son. He said it so many times. I could still hear his voice in my head. We had family reunions. Our family reunions consisted of his mother bringing him. It's been times where, not just the family reunions, my dad would just hand me the phone. He'd talk to your cousin Robert. That's how he was. He'd just automatically put us on the spot. Talk to, this person. Talk. So one particular time, he said, talk to your cousin Robert. As I got older, and I would ask, he never would mention, he never would just be honest and tell the truth while he was still here. My cousin, she confirmed and just came clean. And then when she came clean, her brother came clean. So I went and talked to my older cousin that knew the whole situation. And then he told us the truth. It's not your cousin, that's your brother. So we finally got in contact with them. Lisa and I, we flew out to Chicago. One of the first things that he asked about, did he ask about me? That thing hurt me so bad because he deserved to have that. It affects you in some kind of way. Not having a family unit, and especially a son not having that father figure. He deserved that, but he was robbed of that. If the truth would have came out back then, I feel like we would have had a better life. My father, he acted exactly the same with purpose. When I saw him walk into that courtroom the first time, I couldn't help but I had to hold myself because it's like I'm seeing Dad in the flesh again. The way he handles himself the exact same way his father did. Exact same way. And then on top of that, a lot of things start coming to me because my father had a great business, but he didn't read his contracts. He couldn't read his contracts.
I don't even have a college education. I have dyslexia, bro. I don't even know how to read, spell, or write, or do math.
As I got older, I worked with him in the family business, and he got ripped off a lot because he didn't read his contracts prior to me, and I would try to pick up the pieces. He would just do things on a whim, make investments on the whim. That's it. A lot of my father's ways manifested. He had a very good mind, very wise man, but a broken man. A broken man that did not get the correct help that he needed in his life and was broken. And unfortunately, like I said, he didn't get the help that he needed.
There's a saying that says, God places no burden on you greater than you can bear. And although Kelly's father bared the soul of a broken man, Kelly would experience a broken soul that would traumatize his being as a whole.
Motion detected at the 1 hill.
Tyson ain't here. That nigga cash.
According to reports as well as family member statements, a young Kelly was molested by his older sister on his mother's side. The horrific incidents in which he had to endure surely scarred him, as it would with any man or child. The reality of what he went through ensured one thing: R. Kelly was destined to be R. Kelly. Robert Sylvester Kelly started out like any other kid coming from less than humble beginnings. He'd often sing and perform on the subways of Chicago's mean and gang-infested streets to perfect the love and voice of his yet-to-be-famous craft. learning lessons that only the streets could teach formally. But for the formal, Kelly attended Kenwood Academy in Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood, a place safer than where he'd shuttled from, and a place where he'd learned the values of encouragement to achieve in music. Prior to that, he had a love for basketball and dreamed the dream most kids his age did, becoming a professional basketball player. That dream changed his direction with the help of a teacher who seen his undeniable talents, and after performing in a school talent show, Kelly seen the adoration and approval of the female schoolmates and became hooked on what type of attention that could bring. As he pursued and perfected his craft, he joined forces with 3 of his friends and recorded and released a single called Why You Wanna Play Me. Shortly after the song was released, the group disbanded and Kelly signed a solo deal with Jive Records and teamed up with a group called Public Announcement. Kelly stayed with them for a short time and separated from them in January of 1993. From there, Kelly would return as a bona fide solo artist and released his first project, 12 Play, on November 9th, 1993. That album produced his first #1 single, Bump and Grind, which spent a record-breaking 12 weeks at #1. As successful as it all seemed, this was the introduction to the rampant rumors and dozens of accusations that would soon follow. In 1994, Kelly married Aaliyah in a secret ceremony held in Chicago. Kelly was then 28. According to the marriage certificate, Aaliyah listed herself as 18, when in fact, she was only 15. In 1996, Tiffany Hawkins sues Kelly for personal injuries and emotional distress based on a relationship when she was 15 and he was 24. In 2001, Tracy Sampson sued Kelly for an indecent sexual relationship when she was only 17 years old. April of 2002, Kelly is sued by Patrice Jones, who claimed he impregnated her when she was underage. That same year, Montina Woods alleged that Kelly videotaped them having sex without her knowledge. The case was settled in 1990. This case was settled out of court. Kelly would go on to settle both cases with a condition that both women sign a non-disclosure agreement. In 2002, Kelly is charged with 21 counts of making child pornography involving intercourse, oral sex, urination, and other sexual acts. He is accused of videotaping each of those acts and enticing a minor to engage in them. As a result, he is arrested based on a video that was anonymously sent to the Chicago Sun-Times earlier that year. The police verified the authenticity of the tape with the help of the FBI. Kelly would escape another 12 counts of making child porn in Florida, where once again, he is arrested in his sunny Florida vacation home. During that arrest, police seized the camera which allegedly had photos of him having sex with yet another underage girl. Kelly would beat the case because his legal team proved that the police lacked sufficient evidence to justify a search of his home. As fate would have it, or perhaps lessons learned, Kelly seemed to steer clear of trouble for several years based on legal maneuvers within the court system. But maneuvers could only maneuver for so long, and Kelly would have to finally face a case that lied in wait.
Walking past dozens of cameras and along a specially cordoned-off path, R. Kelly arrived at 26th in California to begin the longest unresolved sex case in Cook County history. Kelly's defense team had sought to delay the start of the trial in the wake of a series of front-page stories in the Chicago Sun-Times, stories that attorneys say could taint the potential jurors.
What they're talking about is what is or is not present in a video, and the jurors get to see that video. So they're not talking about something in the abstract. The jurors will look at it themselves and make their own determination whether it's there.
Noticeably absent was the alleged victim in this case, a now 23-year-old woman who denies she's the girl on the sex tape, a girl who receives cash before engaging in acts of intercourse, oral sex, and urination with a man prosecutors say is R. Kelly. Jury consultant Bill Healy says the importance of her absence cannot be underestimated.
With what seemed to be an airtight case of guilt, Kelly would go on to beat because the prosecution could not prove that the girl on the tape was underage, thus allowing the jury to find him not guilty on all charges. Sometimes it's easier to see things in others than it is to see in yourself. And given the opportunity to witness your own honesty and face your own truth, how likely would it be to willingly experience a horror you'd have no control of, or participate in a pain with no limitations of help or parental guidance, and still be subject to a child's innocence in a trust misguided, leading only to more abuse? The irony of such things are not only a reflection of what Kelly himself is accused of, but it is also at the hands of his cruel fate that unfortunately made him a victim of not just his older sister's sexual abuse, but also by a man who would abuse him, scarring him with a rape not soon to be forgotten. Yet some forget wrong doesn't justify wrong, and by no means should it be excused. Instead, it should be remembered to be understood.
I do think that he has hurt in his story. Hurt people, his own trauma, his life story, whatever it is, who his mother was, who his father was. It was alleged that he was sexually abused as a child. If that is true, he would be vulnerable as well. Doesn't make anything right, but also I understand that there are non-famous hurt people who also hurt.
I work a lot in prison settings and detention settings, and there are about as many people who have been victimized sexually as people who haven't. I mean, in the world, there was a big study, it's the Average Childhood Experiences Study. It's been replicated in many places across the country, in many states. And basically, it's like 28% of women have said that they were sexually abused before the age of 18, and about 16% of men. And when you self-report something like that, it's usually an underestimation because some people feel like they can't tell that to a stranger. And so it's likely that it's higher.
There used to be a line of thinking that the mental health, a lot of it would come from the church and spiritual world in that way. And I'm not denying that, and I think it's very helpful and very healthy in a lot of ways. I think that we're in the age where we can do both. You can go to church, you can be a part of a spiritual community, and you can also find a therapist. Why I think that's challenging, why we are still an underserved population, is because we are still a smaller percentage. I think it's very difficult for Black people to wrap their heads around therapy often because you're not sure if you can find somebody who you can relate to, and you're wondering if the information will be used against you. I will reserve my ideas about the insurance companies for another time, but we got to do better. The rate for therapy on average is $150 to $175 an hour. If you're trying to pay rent and getting on the bus to see a therapist, do you have $600 a month? Not saying that it wouldn't be helpful, because I think it would, but do you have $600 a month to reserve for therapy? Generally, no. I feel sad. Honestly, I feel sad thinking about the case. I feel sad thinking about any young woman, lady who was a victim. I feel sad thinking about what R. Kelly could have gone through, potentially being sexually abused or abused as a child. I feel sad that hurt people. Why I would have a problem with R. Kelly saying, "Oh, I'm hurt, I didn't know," is because he actually had access to resources to get support. He could have gone to therapy. That is separate from him as an artist. Musically, he's absolutely genius. Who doesn't know an R. Kelly song in Black America? I certainly do. But as a psychologist, I spend my time looking at the people part of it. And I feel sad looking at his case. I feel sad looking at all the hurt surrounding this case.
I really do feel like society also failed R. Kelly. He has charisma and talent. He's got some amazing qualities. What if he was not allowed to victimize people? And what if the trauma that he suffered when he was sexually abused as a child, what if that were dealt with in a really different way? Would we have this trail of tears following him? What if people around him, instead of funneling 13 and 14-year-old girls to him, said, "I'm not going to do that. You got to get some therapy. You can't act like this. That's degrading to you, to your community, and I'm going to protect children. This would be a real different story.
The story of R. Kelly isn't just about the story of R. Kelly. In fact, the story is also about the unspoken cultures of groupies, those that hang on, hang around, and hold up the grandiose idea of receiving the perks of someone else's success, the artist. As a result, it's safe to ask about the responsibilities of those kinds of people, the entourage, the circle that seems to circle the center, sometimes playing outside the box of morals where guidelines are easily blurred, all in the name of a fame that doesn't actually belong to them. So in order to keep that false sense of security, their actions are often questioned and tested. But be mindful, this isn't an exclusive music act. It is an act often played with anyone who makes it.
Okay, one more time for the slow.
The entertainment industry is an industry unlike any other. It's a place where stars are born and dreams are made. But it can also be a place of nightmares and horror stories, where the co-stars are personal assistants, stagehands, friends, and sometimes even family. Oftentimes, because of a star's celebrity and/or recognition, the traditional ways of saying hello may come in the form of a note sent by the artist, delivered by one of their assistants, which in some instances actually makes that assistant an enabler. And depending on the outcome of the initial delivered introduction, it can also make them an accessory to rape, prostitution, and even solicitation of a minor. The act is oftentimes not intended to be criminal, and in a court of law, most times it is not. However, what's definitely questioned is the morals and principle of it all. With that being said, one must also take notice of how easy it is to be accused and sometimes destroyed, regardless of a court's verdict, but based on an accuser's story. The penalties of the public are often humiliating and embarrassing, and if true, rightfully so. But in the event that they are not, there are stains upon years of hard work, not easily removed and surely never forgotten. The list of the accused seems to unfortunately be a part of the entertainment culture, and it grows every day. For example, Grammy Award winner CeeLo Green was accused of sexual assault in 2012. According to reports, his accuser said Green slipped some ecstasy in her drink while the two ate dinner. She went on to say she woke up naked in bed with Green in her hotel room. After an investigation, prosecutors declined to file a charge of rape of an intoxicated person, citing insufficient evidence. As a result, Green pled no contest, which allowed him to maintain his innocence and receive 3 years of probation. However, there was a harsher sentence delivered via public scrutiny and social media, one no court could ever overrule, because the negativity of public opinion will always allow a forever debate of guilt or innocence in his case. Rap superstar Nelly was accused and sued for sexual assault by a woman who claimed he tried to force her to perform oral sex backstage after a concert in 2017. Nelly denied the allegations and responded by saying, "The truth will come out and I will be vindicated. These types of false allegations undermine real claims of sexual abuse and harassment by real victims." Nelly's sexual assault charges were ultimately dropped by the UK police, and no further actions were taken in regards to it, legally. However, his case was heard in the court of public opinion and continues to be another debatable topic. Perhaps the most debatable topic on the list of damaging a music artist's reputation is the accusations and allegations against the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. Jackson, an African-American music icon, has been the subject of sexual misconduct whispers dating back as far as 1986, when rumors started to swirl when he made a commercial for Pepsi that included a 10-year-old boy. Those rumors continued to gain steam, and in 1993, the LAPD began an investigation based on allegations of him molesting 4 children at his Neverland Ranch. Police, however, could find no incriminating evidence with their investigation at Jackson's ranch to support those claims. Unfortunately, Jackson would be plagued with unproven allegations and would spend an incredible amount of time defending himself. He would go on to be sued, brought up on criminal charges, even ridiculed, even though he was acquitted of all criminal charges on June 13, 2005. In addition to it all, Jackson's music was also put under a microscope, and there were cries of muting his music as well. Fortunately, the Michael Jackson name stood firm with musical greatness, but even with his death, his controversy continues. Unfortunately, sexual misconduct and allegations run parallel in entertainment. Oftentimes we hear of cases and immediately question the validity of the accuser. And there are other times we choose to turn a blind eye, regardless to what we've heard. And perhaps that's based on the popularity of the offender and also on his or her star power. What usually happens is the accused has his or her day in court, and the evidence grants a firm conviction of guilt or innocence. A recent case that comes to mind is that of Bill Cosby, found guilty on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years. Cosby has been accused by 60-plus women of sexual assault and drugging them. These accusations spanned for decades and finally, thankfully, came to an end. There are other cases that fall under the umbrella of sex crimes, but for whatever reason, they've somehow escaped today's social media-fueled exile or muting of their music. A few examples of this can start with the so-called king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, accused of having an affinity for underage girls. Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin even though he was married to another woman. David Bowie, accused of taking a groupie's virginity when she was 14 and he was in his mid-20s. Chuck Berry, caught paying a 14-year-old prostitute and would eventually be arrested for transporting a minor across state lines for immoral purposes. Right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of color. Or at least it should be. But in the entertainment world, there is a feeling of mistrust combined with an undertone of proven racial disparities. The question that arises is there validation to it, or merely opinions that give grounds to debate history and personal feelings?
There's plenty of Caucasian men that's done far worse than what he's done. But that's not saying. It's convenient to bring that to us. Am I for him? Nada. But did he change the game? How can he change something that's been in existence forever? How? He's just another man that got caught up in it. It's just as simple as that.
Every black person that has pulled it up by their bootstraps and made something of themselves, they come up with something negative. And that's every one of them. A black man just got a decent job. For him to keep his job, he got to fight through a whole lot of extra stuff that other people don't have to fight. And that's the same thing that's going on with the celebrities. I mean, there's not one that nothing negative ever came out against. You know what I'm saying? This is bigger than R. Kelly. So if they can break Bill Cosby, they can break R. Kelly. They tried to break Michael Jackson. He in his grave, and they still trying to break him.
Race is a part of everything we do. It's a part of the fabric of who we are as a country. We know in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, these people were wild. We know some of the things they did. Not one accusation against any of these Caucasian artists. We're finding out that now that's Bill Cosby. They just one woman brought it down.
Yeah, that's been recorded.
Racism
I
is
was just
baked
in the middle.
into
When you sent that, I
how
was just in the
we
middle.
run
Okay.
every
Like,
system in this
okay.
country. I do think black people are far more criminalized than white people in this country. That's as plain as the nose on my face. I mean, that's the truth.
And that is so,
Every
like I said, I was right in the middle of it. I had pulled it
sexual
up.
abuse of like
But I was like,
was very normalized
when you said, right when you
for
said it to me, I
white
was on the
rock
page.
culture. And I don't think that a lot of those people's
Thank you very
chickens
much.
have come home to roost,
Because I think
so
when they
to
said,
speak,
how'd
like
you
they did
get
for,
on there?
Bill
So he
Cosby
released
or R. Kelly.
2 of them.
Do I feel like the
And
black
then
man's being
6 o'clock
attacked? I do
he
not
released the
feel like
last
the black man's
one.
being
So,
attacked
because if you've done something and it was under, wrongdoing, and you know that you shouldn't have done it, then of course you deserve to be prosecuted by any means necessary. Whether it's R. Kelly, Gold Gary, Joe Terry, whoever that is. There's a certain stigma, though, in America with black people, where we do wrong things, we're this, we're that, and it seems like we're always victimized just because of the circumstances and everything that we put in and categorized as. And a lot of that does come from the way we presented ourselves or the way we carried ourselves and certain things like that.
A lot of black Americans are guilty until proven innocent. So, like in the court of public opinion, whether he's famous or not, he's still a black face. And a lot of people have that attachment to blackface. There is something about America that makes the abuse of any kind perpetrated against black people a little bit more tolerable. I think it's connected to slavery. I think it still exists today. The American palate will digest black people being abused in general easier than they will digest white people being abused. I think this is challenging and tricky is many of the young women or teens, children, whoever they were around black girls. And so there's a representation of honoring the bodies and the souls and the nurturance needed for black and brown girls and to hold him accountable for those
She called Sean yesterday.
I think that there's a lot of layers of things. There's sexism.
Yeah, called her back. I said,
there's racism. There's classism. There's all these things. And so people can quickly say, oh, you're trying to keep him down. Well, I think it's unfair to ask if it's because of race that R. Kelly's finally getting busted, because it's actually because of his fame that he's been protected for as long as he has been. If it were just about that, he would have been sought after like 2 decades ago when a lot of this stuff first came out, if people were that hungry for him.
I don't think that this case would have gone on so long. I don't think he would have been apprehended so late if these were white women. It's not right. I'm not saying that, any suffering on any person should occur, right? But what I'm saying is I have a very hard time believing that if this were 20 years ago, in the 90s, and he were being accused of apprehending young white girls, 14, 15, whatever age, I think he would have been apprehended very quickly. I don't think we'd be in 2019 talking about this drawn-out case.
The women that have come up with these false allegations, I mean, they know that. And they're even using that, saying, well, no one wants to listen to a black woman. And so there's race right there.
This is not about a black man, I do not believe. We don't even need to bring race into it to see what this is all about. Is it possible, do they take down white men? Absolutely. Do they take down black men? Absolutely. So I can't make that distinction yet.
This is a question I get a lot, which is, why do you think all the women that have come forward are black? Where's the white women coming forward? And of course, the initial knee-jerk reaction to that may be, well, maybe Robert doesn't like white women. I know that that is not true. I have a direct line of communication with Robert. We've had enormous amounts of time to talk and for me to understand the man behind the megastar that everyone thinks they know. And I found it quite fascinating that we are in a place now where the only women that have come forward are black.
There are no white women on this train because these accusations are false.
He won't be convicted until white America says he's convicted. Now, he would have already been convicted if it had been white women involved. America has this knack for playing these games and keep the drama going so everybody can prosper from it financially. I personally think that he will be liberated because there was no white women involved. And that's just my own unbiased opinion.
The race ain't us, black and white. The race is us. It's black and black. That's what we got. Or African American, whatever one you wanna
yourself in whatever category. Because we are the ones that's fighting each other on this. White ain't did nothing. It ain't the Asian, it ain't the Spanish, none of them have been the major force or the major fight. They letting this play out with us.
Like I said, you gotta watch it to.
This is nothing about no race war because we don't have any Caucasian victims. And we had a couple Caucasian victims. You would see a race war because you know why? He'd be done.
Sharon Woodward sure is out today. Well, she hasn't addressed it. She made a good point. When I put that down, I think she made a good point. Send the money to Robert in care of Greenberg. There's nothing they can say. She made some good points. I was like, okay, Sharon. She said for the slow people in the back. I didn't say, She said, I said, you write your check out to Robert Sylvester Kelly.
Did he really do all this stuff? Is he really a predator or a monster like they're saying?
Race is a part of everything we do. It's a part of fabric of who we are as a country.
Did he change the game? How can he change something that's been in existence forever? He's just another man that got caught up in it.
Yes, he is guilty.
Innocent. 1,000%.
Innocent till proven guilty.
I believe he's guilty. I also believe that hurt people hurt people.
I really do feel like society also feels R. Kelly.
I've been trying to go back.
If he had the chance just to be able to get the help he needs, and I'm talking about R. Kelly the man, not the superstar, a lot of things would change.
And saying, do not send no money to nobody.
Next,
Yeah.
part 2.
Yeah, that's what she's basically
Breaking news. Controversial R&B singer R. Kelly has just been arrested outside of Trump Tower. Reports have surfaced that he is facing a multitude of charges, including sexual misconduct, solicitation of a minor, and obstruction of justice. We will continue to follow this story and update you as the details come in.
Saying that,
I think this is completely selective. I think this is targeting him.
You have a prosecutor in Kimberly Fox who, for the first time in my career I've ever seen it, is putting herself
No.
asking
He hasn't said
alleged
yes.
victims to come
He
forward.
just said, do what you gotta do.
Being black and a
What
woman
you
in America in and of
is
itself can be seen as an obstacle. And so I'm still trying to
need
figure it
him
out, but it's an
for
obstacle I
Brian or
overcome
whoever's
every day.
going in this season.
This country is so habituated
Break
into
down what
pushing
needs to
people
be
out
done
into the
and what
margins
he
and
needs to
taking
say.
away the voice of the
You know
powerless.
what I'm saying?
That it's really hard.
And she went on about that
who are
letter
in
saying
that
Rob is not that
position
illiterate.
to be
But
taken
in
seriously.
Precedence, he says that
I
he could
believe
all
Taronga
right,
at the
read
time
or
I
write.
Johnson that face
You know
is
what I'm
lying.
saying?
Because she lied to you. And if you're lying to someone that you called your best friend, you're lying to anyone.
Yeah.
So,
Well, barely
in the minds of
right.
everybody else,
I just watched it.
He's a crime, looked at it, didn't pay
Because they use that
attention.
clip of him talking. So this
What everybody don't understand is they gotta go through seeing your daughter submerged in water with pills and shit floating and on the floor, and taking your baby girl trying to save her life.
One of the things that's going to be said about this is precedent.
You know?
And when you look at a man who's being charged like this, what does that
So
give?
she just was just on
Not
but
of stature. You
this
don't
latest
have the
one,
ability
she
to
was
draw
saying
resources to
something
have
different.
for attorneys.
Saying
And
that, yeah,
all of a
he said,
sudden
well, he
he's
has
made
expressed that he
with
wants
these
to-
allegations. How then does he fight it? How then does he prepare himself for this Me Too movement as we move forward?
Precedence.
He hasn't fired anyone, but, bringing other comments on. You know? Yeah, I saw a little bit of it with the pictures, Ashley, whatever her name is. Ashley, the model. Yeah, the model. saying was Jongerin. You know what they were saying was Jongerin? Yeah, well, but he basically been saying he was killed. So I mean, anyone you want to get down to it. So you got Cassandra Kelly, Dr. Rogers, Arlene April, Jasmine, Dr. Curtis Rice, Daryl Johnson, Linda, Deb Anton, L.A. Love. So they get into all of these people. Him too, me too. So he did a research on these things.